If you want to spend less time vacuuming but get better results, stick around because in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite vacuuming tips, tricks, and hacks. You can take it from me, the person that hates cleaning and vacuuming the most. But don't worry, we're not compromising results here. And stay around until the end of this video where I'm going to share with you my #1 tip for getting perfect vacuum cut lines. If your vacuum has a power head or a beater bar like this, you want to make sure that there's nothing tangling it up, because the second you start to have hair or long thread tangling up this beater bar, it can't actually do its job of gently grinding into surfaces like carpets and lifting up dirt and hair and other kinds of things like that. Now, a lot of newer vacuums are coming out with combs built in, much like this Dyson that I have here. This is the Outsize Plus head. It's got hair removal vanes. It's kind of like a built-in comb. So it's like constantly pulling out hair as you vacuum, which is super useful. But if you don't have this type of feature, and by the way, it's available on many different brands of vacuums, not just Dyson, you can use a seam ripper to get rid of that, where you basically take the tool and just cut across. It takes a minute. It's going to be a bit of a nasty job, but once it's done, oh my gosh, your vacuum is going to be revitalized. Do you recognize this texture? Yeah, it's from those old lint brushes that your dad used to use in the 80s. Well, guess what? That technology still works today, and the proof is in the pudding. Most, if not all, vacuum tools that I've seen come with one of these bright red strips, specifically for the purpose of grabbing lint, or in my house, pet hair. Now, these I find so helpful because if for whatever reason your vacuum does miss something, the little lint brush catches it. If you have some lint or some pet hair, definitely pick a vacuum tool with one of those red lint strips. One of the most frustrating things, especially when you're vacuuming a carpeted floor, is when you have made beautiful cut lines and then you have to walk across those cut lines to get out of the room. Where I'm standing right behind me is the opposite corner to the exit point of the room. Let me say that once more. It's the opposite corner to the exit point of the room. Where Lucas is standing, he's filming me. That's the exit point. So it makes no sense, even though it might feel logical to start over there, it's best to start here. And then by the time I'm done, I just see myself out the door. And on that note, if your vacuum is corded, you want to make sure that you plug it in close to your exit point, not your entry point. You know, one of the easiest ways to get your vacuum to work well is to empty the vacuum bin before you start using it or after each use. The max fill line that exists on your vacuum is really important to pay attention to, because anything above that is infringing upon the actual filtration system, which means that if too much stuff is blocking up the area where your vacuum is filtering, it's not going to be able to do its job. It's going to overheat, it's going to burn out the motor, and your vacuum's not going to work the way it should. So really, the solution is to empty it. It takes 2 seconds. Now, if you notice that there are clogs or your vacuum isn't suctioning the way it should, really what you can do is take your vacuum apart. So I always do this. I look inside the head first to see if there's any blockages there. I will look inside the tube, and if those areas are both clear, I'll look inside the filter, and I sort of build my way up. Now, you can pick up specialty vacuum cleaning tools for this. They're actually very easy to come by. I will link one that I like down below for you. And they make a huge difference in terms of capturing and kind of hooking any of that stuff that's caught really easy. And sort of the shape of the bristles is almost like a mascara brush. It's very catchy, so it's good and easy when it comes to, catching any of that stuff and cleaning out your vacuum filters quickly. Good thing to keep in mind. When you invest in a new vacuum, it does pay off to take a few minutes and learn about how all the different components work. That way, when you actually put it to work, it can perform at its peak for you. A few examples of where this can get you in trouble. If you don't know how to adjust the beater bar for high pile carpet and low pile carpet, or soft surfaces like carpet versus hard surfaces like hardwood floor or tile, you can, at the very best, just not get a great vacuum, but at the very worst, you can actually damage your flooring. Next up, it's important to know the tools and how, the little hose comes out and winds back in easily so that you're not having like an awkward cartoonish struggle with your vacuum every time. Also, the tools. There are a plethora of vacuum tools that are available. In fact, I felt this was such an important topic. We made an entire video about that. I'm going to link it for you down below. It's a total game changer once you figure out what all of these different tools are for. Your vacuum game is going to go from like 50% to 100% once you figure these out and start employing them to do their job. A great way to waste time, if you have lots of it available, is to start by vacuuming the floor and then vacuuming above. So what I'm really saying is make sure that you vacuum from the top to the bottom when it comes to whatever surfaces you're going to be cleaning. So I would start with ceiling corners, crown moldings, and I would go up to door frames, tops of picture frames, anything like that I would want to actually use a vacuum with a brush attachment instead of, say, a dusting tool or a microfiber cloth. You're going to want to work from the top to the bottom, same as you would with any other type of cleaning. When I talk about dwell time, this is specifically what I mean. Applying the correct product, that's the P part of the equation, to the surface to deal with whatever is dirtying up that surface. So that's why it's really important to understand the varying products and of course the surfaces that you're trying to clean. What people forget is that when they just spray a product on, it can't work instantaneously. It needs time. It needs dwell time. And that's exactly what dwell time is. It's the time it takes for the product to dig in and do its work, so that you don't have to work as hard. Products are incredible. We just have to give them the opportunity to shine. Let's say you've got some toothpaste splatters on your bathroom counter or some spilled jam on the counter in your kitchen and it's kind of dried. If you spray a little bit of all-purpose cleaner on the appropriate product for this surface and then wipe it off right away, you probably won't get rid of any of it. Instead, what you'll do is you'll spray the product on, you'll work your way around the rest of the room for a couple of minutes, and then after about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you can come back and wipe the surface down. The really important thing with dwell time, and this is across the board, is you always want your surface to be wet. So you're gonna spray liberally. I know we've talked a lot about disinfecting over the past couple of years, but disinfecting has a lot to do with dwell time, because when we watch a TV commercial and we learn about a new disinfectant, that company has about 30 seconds to explain to us everything they need to say about the product. But we can't learn how to use the product in a TV commercial because they don't teach us about dwell time, but the back of the package will. And if you read the back of a disinfecting product, you will see that you actually need to let that product sit wet on a surface for anywhere between 2 minutes all the way up to 10 minutes in order for it to kill the germs on the surface. Now again, this comes down to selecting the right product for the surface, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the money that we're spending on the disinfectant is actually not going to waste and it's doing its job. In order for this to be the case, learn how to use the product properly, use the right amount of dwell time. Stain removal is both an art and a science, but one thing I can say for sure is that you've got to treat your stain really quick, and then you have to use the right product and allow it to sit for a couple of minutes before you launder so that the product can do its job. And if you're using something like an enzyme-based cleaner, you might want to let it sit for a little bit longer so that that product can really work. If you spray a product on and chuck your garment right into the washing machine afterward, the product hasn't really had a chance to break that stain down, break those bonds, lift the dirt to the surface, and prime the garment to release the stain. So the next time you go ahead and treat a stain, just give the product a few minutes before you turn on your machine. When we're dealing with a heavy-duty mess, whether it's a large buildup of soap scum or hard water stains in the bathroom, or a super greasy backsplash stove or overhead exhaust in the kitchen, this work can feel really overwhelming. And what I see people do is spin their wheels. I don't like to work hard when I clean. And I know that if I use the right product, the right tool, and the right technique, I actually don't have to. So when I clean these heavy duty areas, I like to work smart. And this is what I do. I clear that area. I choose the right product, so I level up. I use something that's more applicable for heavy duty work, and I spray that on the surface. I spray it on liberally, like I hose it down. I don't waste product, but the goal is that you don't want that surface to dry before you get back to it. If the surface is dry, the product can't do its thing. So sometimes if I know it needs like 10 minutes, I might come back to it, respray it a little bit, but then at the end of that 10-minute period, when I hit it up with whatever cleaning tool I'm using, that schmutz comes right off. I don't have to scrub. I don't need to sweat. I don't need to work too hard because I've let the product do its thing. And that's how I like to clean. And that's how I want you to clean. I want to make a distinction here because I know I just talked about being very liberal with your product application. And you might be thinking, yeah, but that's going to waste money. Here's the thing. Sometimes you have to apply a lot of product to get the job done. But where product gets wasted is when you apply the product, wipe it off quickly, notice that the work hasn't been done, and then you have to apply the product again, then you wipe it off again quickly, and then you go through that wasting cycle of reapplying and wiping. It wastes product and it wastes time. The other thing, and you can learn more about this in our 50 DIY Cleaners ebook, is you can make a lot of these very effective products yourself for way less than the price of a store-bought product. Microfiber cloths are amazing for cleaning tons of stuff around a home, but they are not a one-size-fits-all solution. No, paper towels do still serve an important purpose in the home. And we often get asked, when does it make sense to use microfiber cloths versus paper towel? So in this video, we're gonna clear up that confusion. We're gonna give you some very definitive answers so you know the difference between a stain or a spill that you should be using microfiber on versus a stain or a spill that you should be using paper towel on. Now the pro of paper towel, it's readily accessible. It is one and done. You use it and get rid of it. You never have to think about it again. No matter what you wipe up with it, it is out of sight, out of mind. The cons of paper towel, the costs add up over time. There's obviously an environmental impact for using tons and tons of paper product. And also it kind of creates this bad habit where you can just reach for a paper towel. Oh, I'll just clean that with a paper towel. I'll just wipe this with a paper towel. I'll blot that. It really is habit forming. For microfiber cloths, the pros are plentiful, starting off with the fact that they are reusable. The average microfiber cloth can be reused around 500 times. They're super, super absorbent. They come in a multitude of different weaves and textures, and they come in different colors so you can color coordinate them for different tasks. The cons with microfiber cloth, there are two. First, it's a front-loaded expense. You've got to invest in your microfiber cloths if you want good quality ones that will last you a long time. And second, if you don't treat them the right way, you can ruin them. That means if you're laundering them incorrectly, we've got tons of information at the Makers Clean website explaining exactly how to do that, as well as videos. So it's important to know all of this when you're making a decision as to whether you should use a microfiber cloth or a paper towel. Here are some of those common scenarios that we get asked about all the time, and I'm gonna tell you, paper towel or microfiber. Grease and oil is something we get asked about quite a bit here. Should I use microfiber or paper towel? Because people love their microfiber cloths and they don't want to ruin them. Now, microfiber is a synthetic material. So much like if you get an oil stain on something that's polyester, you know it's quite a bit of work to get an oil stain out. Let's say you're frying up some bacon in a frying pan and there is some bacon grease that has splattered. Sure, you can use a bit of soapy water and clean it with your microfiber cloth. But if you're going to be cleaning your pan and giving it a wipe down to get rid of all that bacon grease, no, you are using a paper towel for that job. The best thing you can do to get anything greasy, oily, or dirty out of a microfiber cloth when you're done using it is to give it a good rinse in hot soapy water, wring it out, and allow it to dry. When it comes to general stains and spills that you might encounter on a bathroom or a kitchen counter, generally speaking, a microfiber cloth can handle them. Where I would avoid using microfiber is cleaning up anything that could potentially stain the cloth. A couple of examples: if you're in the kitchen and you're wiping up curry sauce, I know that turmeric stains, so I'm using paper towel for that. Same thing in the bathroom. I wouldn't use a microfiber cloth to clean up hair dye. Other than things that you know will stain your microfiber cloth, and frankly, that's just an aesthetic issue. The microfiber cloth can be used to clean the majority of surfaces in your home, whether it's a counter, a cupboard front, a wall, and more. One place that our waffle weave microfiber cloth really comes in handy is in the kitchen when it comes to food prep. So foods I would use the waffle weave towel for would be fruits and vegetables when I'm washing and drying the produce, as well as tofu. It is so great. I fold my tofu in a waffle weave and I put a big cast iron pan on it. Does a great job. You know where I wouldn't use a microfiber cloth? Patting down meat, chicken, and seafood. What about using cleaning products with microfiber cloths or paper towel? What is safe to use where? If the product has bleach in it, or if it's got anything waxy or oily, that's when I would use a paper towel for that particular cleaning task. If you're using a general cleaning product that doesn't contain any of that stuff, even if it's a DIY product that you've whipped up yourself, it's got some baking soda, some essential oils, absolutely go right ahead. You can use a microfiber cloth. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through my house and show you the areas that a professional cleaner would look at to very quickly gauge how clean your house is. Don't freak out, but use this information to your advantage. It's helpful. I'm gonna take my shoes off and we're gonna get started. Stepping into someone's home is a full sensory experience. And one of the first things I notice when I walk into someone's home is the smell. Now, when we walk into our own homes, we're so used to that smell that Febreze actually coined the term nose blind, meaning that we're essentially blind to the way our own homes smell. But a smell actually tells you so much about a space. How stuffy it is. Do they have pets? How frequently are they emptying their garbage? Is there a mold issue? Do you see where I'm going with this? Professional cleaners are pretty smart. They can smell their way through a cover-up like a candle or a spray or a plug-in. If you really want to deal with a smell, you've got to find the source of the odor and deal with that, whether it's laundering blankets or cleaning your soft surfaces, dealing with that garbage or that mold issue. But there are a couple of other things you can do to make sure that your house smells nice and fresh. I've got some videos for you linked down below, some great ideas on how to make your own scents for the house, and also some videos about air purification and how to keep your air clean. Floors are one of the largest surfaces in a home, and to make matters a little bit more challenging, they are the lowest horizontal surface that you're going to get. And I always say, dust and dirt falls from the top to the bottom. So if it's going anywhere, it's going on the floors. When I walk into a home, my eyes go straight forward and directly down. I can tell pretty quickly by looking at a floor just how clean or how dirty it is. Now, you might notice that the color of my floor was chosen pretty strategically. It's light. Light floors are actually much easier to mask dirt on than dark floors would be, specifically because dark floors show a lot of hair, but they also show a lot of foot oils. So if you like to walk around barefoot on hard floor surfaces, you will notice footprints on dark floors much quicker than you would on light floors. That's another thing I look for. Is the finish of the floor consistent? So my floors are textured so that you can't see all the time how perfectly clean they are. If you have a flat, shiny, glossy surface, it's like walking on a piano. You have to make sure your floors are immaculate all the time. So when I walk into a home, I kind of look for those things to see just how clean or how dirty a floor is. That would tell me if I need to spend extra time cleaning it. And if you want to have some great floor care ideas, specifically on how to clean hard floor surfaces, I will link a video for you to check out down below. You've probably seen a scene of a movie or a show where some like super snooty person walks up to a surface and goes, and just looks at their dusty finger. Well, there are some obvious places that you should be dusting, but I can tell you, you don't even have to do that finger swipe test to know where the dust is, the hidden places where dust is. And I can just do like a quick glance and I can tell. So the places that I look are kind of the forgotten spots, like the mantles. And by the way, mantle for me, I'm 5'5", is kind of right at my eye level. So by me just going a casual like this, casual glance, I can see if that's dusty or not. Then I'll just quickly look down at the baseboards. Again, something, most baseboards are wiped, you don't need to actually ever touch because you will see contrasting dust or dirt or stains directly on the white baseboard. I will also look at vents. specifically ones in the floor or on the wall, whether it's high or low. If there's a buildup of dust, it tells me that those haven't been dusted or cleaned in a while. And same with windowsills. Again, they're generally white. So if I just do a quick glance, I can see if they are dusty, dirty, etc. This, as a professional cleaner, would tell me I've got to spend extra time doing the details, so I know I would build more time into that cleaning. And for someone who is just looking for ways to put that extra polish on their home, these forgotten areas would be things that a professional cleaner would pick out and something that would make a difference for you. Now, don't let the clutter behind me distract you. Trust me, I'll cover that in a moment. I want to talk about walls and points of contact because when I walk into a home, listen, you're entitled to live your life the way you want. But at the end of the day, if a professional cleaner is coming in, one of the things that is going to add extra time onto their work is if there are a lot of fingerprints and marks on the walls and on the points of contact. Now, generally speaking, points of contact should be cleaned and disinfected at a professional cleaning anyway, but when I walk into someone's house, I always look to see just how dirty these are, okay? The other thing I look for is the fingerprints and the marks around this area. And then if there are little kids in the house, I always look kind of like around my knee because that's where little hands tend to run along the walls. I'll never forget, Chad and I moved into a house that had 5 children living in it previously, and there was like one long Adidas stripe around the whole house because it was just all the kids' handprints. Anyway, if you're a professional cleaner or if you're coming into your home and you want a pair of fresh eyes, look at your walls and points of contact and see what kind of condition they're in. Something else that sticks out like a sore thumb in someone's house is clutter. And the more clutter you have, I mean, the more visually difficult it is to enjoy a space. That's not to be confused with maximalism, which is a decor choice. But if there's a lot of clutter everywhere, it really does feel messy and disorganized. That is an obvious thing. When you walk into your home, you can clearly see the clutter, as I can clearly see the clutter in my house. But as a professional cleaner, you would know, okay, I gotta tidy before I clean. And this is something that I've been asked so many times. People will say, is it true you need to clean before the cleaning lady shows up? And the thing is, you don't have to clean, but if you get rid of the clutter, it actually saves the cleaning person time so that they can actually clean instead of try to figure out where your stuff is supposed to go or try to make sense of your clutter and try to make it look neater. Really and truly, the more clutter there is, the longer it's going to take to clean a home. So if you want to make your home look clean, one of the quickest ways to do that is to lose the clutter. 2 areas I haven't addressed yet, but I would check in any home assessment would be the kitchen and the bathroom. Now, of course, there are things that you're going to do anytime you go in and generally clean these spaces, but how long it's going to take you to clean these spaces really depends on grime and how grimy those surfaces are. And the way I define grime is any kind of film or buildup that's on a surface. So whether it's soap scum in a bathroom, dirt in a sink, grease on a backsplash, splatter on a mirror, you get the idea. That's grime. So if there's a thin or a low amount of grime, I can probably just spray it with a cleaner, give it a minute or 2 and wipe it off. That's pretty easy, average. If there's a lot of grime and I'm going to require specialty products or specialty tools or a lot of time to tackle that grime, I would then know to adjust my assessment accordingly. So what I look for specifically are shiny reflective surfaces to be indicators to me of how grimy a room is. Now, the other thing you can do to check for grime, aside from feeling a surface, is to do what I call the eye level test, which I love. It never lies. What you do is you get down to the eye level of that particular surface so that when you look at it, you are looking directly straight on at that surface, and it will tell you what is built up on that surface. When you do the eye level test for the first time, it's like you're seeing things in 5 dimensions. It is a new experience. And that is going to tell you how greasy or grimy a surface is. Now, if you're looking at a vertical surface, like say a refrigerator that's stainless steel, you can use the light again to sort of shift from side to side and see what kind of greasy, grimy fingerprints or buildup exist on that surface. Either way, there are a few different ways that you can assess grime, but grime will definitely inform how long cleaning these two very intensive rooms will take you. And now for that long-awaited tip on how to get perfect cut lines. And it comes down to an elementary concept, my friends. That's right, the alphabet, or more specifically, the W. The W pattern, that is, which is like a term I kind of created to explain exactly how you should be creating cut lines in your carpet. Because before I became a cleaning expert, or accidentally became a cleaning expert, the way I used to vacuum, the best way I can describe it is a sunburst. I would like stand in the middle and kind of draw a sun or a star or some sort of intergalactic planetary thing around myself. It looked terrible. So the W pattern is how you get this professional cut lines. And essentially what you do is you line yourself up with the top left or top right corner of the space that you're vacuuming, and you work in sections. The reason you work in sections is so that you don't have to do ridiculously long strokes. So for this rug, I might do 2 sections, and then I will of course work my way out of the room so I'm not stepping across the surface I have just vacuumed. I'll line myself up to the outermost left corner of the carpet. My vacuum head will sit exactly flush with the corner. I'm gonna step back about halfway, keeping my vacuum straight, and then I'm gonna push forward ever so slightly on an angle. I'm gonna go over some of what I have already vacuumed with my straight pass downward, coming back up on the up. And then when I pull back down, I'm gonna go over just a little bit of what I went over on the upstroke. Essentially, you wanna cover each spot about 2, maybe 3 times if it's really dirty. That W pattern is not only gonna really suck up everything that's stuck in the carpet, but it's gonna leave you with this professional pro cut lines. Knowing how to vacuum your house quickly and efficiently is key. A, if you have pets, B, if you have children, and C, if you hate dust, or D, all of the above. And that leads me to this week's comment question, which is, how do you feel about vacuuming? Do you love it or do you hate it? I personally, I hate it. I find it dreadful. I will say with the advent of cord-free vacuums, it's way more enjoyable. Well, easier? Not enjoyable. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, because I have met people before who find vacuuming therapeutic. They're monsters. But yeah, I'm curious, what do you think? If you're interested in floor care, you might find this video, many uses for a mop, interesting and helpful. And of course, there are a couple ways you can support the Clean My Space channel. You can do so by subscribing. You can give Molly a little thumbs up or a comment. And of course, you can visit makersclean.com, which is where we sell all of our premium microfiber cleaning tools, luxury bath products, Maker's Mop, and more. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.